what we see in terms of people going into a specific kind of new role at other companies, that's great, because we can also start to think, okay, well, that's been super successful, and how do we kind of tailor more? So I think it's a learning process as well, and that's where being able to kind of see data and understand that in a lot more detail is really important.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Milverton, CEO of Links Educate. This is Talent is Everywhere. We're here to talk about how to keep talent and how to develop talent in order to build a strong business. We'll interview leaders to hear their best experiences of how they invested in people. Our guest today is Christina Lewis, who is head of Global Rider Experience and Partnerships at Deliveroo. As someone passionate about equity and championing women in their careers, she is also the Gender Equity Employee Resource Group lead at Deliveroo, and was named a Woman to Watch in the Hospitality, Travel, and Leisure Index this year. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Sylvie. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. So, I'm Chrissy. Hi, that's quite the intro. As you said there, I'm really passionate about the kind of equity space, and I work in kind of global rider experience here at Deliveroo as well. But originally, I'm from a small Midlands town in the UK, and outside of work, I love running. I've done several ultramarathons, which people often think I'm absolutely mad to do. So yes, that's a little bit about me. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And yeah, super impressive, the ultra marathons. I might join the people who think you're maybe a little bit mad. But today we're going to talk about the Deliveroo Academy. So this is a perk offered to all Deliveroo riders globally, where they have access to a range of educational courses for them and their family members, which I think is really special, from short courses in digital skills to languages to longer certificate courses in topics like business, coding, cooking. To really broaden their learning and upskill for future careers. You launched this perk around 5 years ago, and since 2024 have partnered with Links, and it's just been our honor and pleasure to partner with you as you've expanded this benefit. So maybe we can start at the beginning. Why did Deliveroo, originally decide to build this kind of initiative to invest in riders and their families, and why have you continued to invest in it for all these years?
Yeah. Well, firstly, it's amazing to have this in place and to have worked with Links on this. But I guess we know that riders work with our platform for many different reasons. We have some riders who primarily work to earn money and to support themselves and their families. And then we have other riders who ride with us whilst they build perhaps a side business or pursue other opportunities as well. And we are fundamentally really proud that we offer such flexible working opportunities for riders. And the Rider Academy that you just mentioned was really an extension of that flexible working opportunity. It enables riders to learn new skills and development opportunities whilst they also earn money on the platform. And ultimately, we wanted riders to have the option to study, to set up a business, or pursue their dream, whatever that might be, using Deliveroo at times as a stepping stone, but often working kind of flexibly whilst they study and kind of support those dreams as well. So we work with Links. We offer a full range of online short courses, as well as accredited courses and vocational opportunities. And ultimately, to answer that second part of your question, we've continued to invest because it really does give riders that fully funded learning opportunity, but it's also supported riders to go into the roles in kind of other companies that they might want to grow into. And it's really allowed them to continue pursuing their dreams and riding. So we've seen riders go on to do some incredible things that we'll talk about soon, but it's also worth noting that not only is this opportunity available to riders, it's also available to a family member or a substitute rider as well. So that kind of enables riders to support those closest to them too.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And it's one thing that I've always admired about the Rider Academy. It's like the commitment, to riders, to workers as they develop themselves. And I suppose it's part of like, the Deliveroo model. It's really like the entrepreneurial spirit of the kind of people that are going to become a rider. And I guess in that vein of ideas, like how has the vision of the Academy evolved just in terms of the content, the program offering, the scope, like since the beginning? How have you thought about it differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think for anyone when they're first looking at like a learning program, it is, it is a bit of trial and error, and it is important to kind of look at what the data is telling you in terms of popularity and listen to that feedback and build and continue to build. Because when we first offered this to our rider fleet, we weren't exactly sure what the most popular courses would be. And so we started with a wide range, and then we've kind of honed in over time on some of the most popular courses. And generally speaking, they're courses such as program management and marketing, but we've also seen our language courses. So learning a new language really is as a really, really popular course. And so we lean more into them in terms of our promotion of them and our case studies around them too. But the other thing we've noticed is that our vocational courses have performed really well. So, for example, we previously did a mechanics course or cooking or baking courses. So we've been able to think about how we can offer more of those opportunities over time.
Yeah, interesting. And also, one thing that's interesting, especially when you have like a huge fleet of workers, like we have an imagination of maybe what they would be interested in or what would work. But in fact, people surprise you. Like, you never know who's going to be someone like passionate about baking or, passionate about learning a language. It's nice to be able to offer it. And there's something about like the nature of flexible work. Again, what I was saying before, like this like entrepreneurial spirit, and that the kind of person, not always, but sometimes that's working in this kind of like a Deliveroo, it's really like a stepping stone for how they're going to build their own life and hungry for new opportunities. And of course, they're not people who are sitting at a desk all day. And a lot of learning is sort of structured like that. How has this informed the way you've structured the Academy, structured the perk, and communicated it and continue to offer it to riders?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. We've seen so many incredibly inspiring and entrepreneurial riders with big dreams and big ambitions. And often riders love that flexibility I mentioned, and it lends itself to that kind of certain way of working that you mentioned there. And I've met so many riders who've owned a business perhaps in the past, or who want to engage in these courses because they're thinking about opening a business and it's been kind of a lifelong dream. And so really it's for that reason that we've offered some more of those vocational courses that I mentioned, all courses that ultimately have like a direct link to supporting riders who want to open their own business. We've also run something separately called the Big Pitch, which is where riders can pitch for some cash prize money, which supports them to kind of set up a business idea that they might have. And we can kind of take them through that process. And that's been amazing as well, to be able to see riders come on with an idea and then be able to kind of support them in making that happen. And a good example of this actually is a few years ago, we had a couple of riders, Catherine and Jamie, who won the Big Pitch. So they went on to kind of get some of this prize money, and we were able to support them to create their own vegan chocolate business idea called Catherine's Originals. And today they have a factory and a small team, and they're in a full production line. And I actually went to visit their factory quite recently, and it was just amazing to be able to see them having set that up as a direct result of the Big Pitch. So combining opportunities like the Big Pitch with this really strong course offering with links supports that kind of strong entrepreneurial spirit that we see.
Right. And probably like really aligns also with like the values of Deliveroo. Like I think sometimes we get an idea that, companies aren't supporting workers, but of course it's all, aligned to the mission and the vision of the company. And so what about the diversity of riders themselves, like your backgrounds and needs? Obviously, you have a huge fleet of riders across 10 countries. One thing that we were happy at Lynx was that we were able, to offer programs, not just in English and French, but, some different other languages for different markets. How, and you're running this whole academy, like centrally, how do you think about global versus local versus individual. And this is, a problem that lots of companies have, multinational companies where you've got, workers across, many geographies and many profiles.
Is an opportunity that many different global businesses have. And I think I guess we start with kind of a set offering that's available to all. We know based on kind of what's popular around what the data is telling us, what we should be kind of offering more of or less of. So that's kind of like how we structured kind of a set offering. And then we think about kind of the needs at like a local market level and like an individual level. So we, for example, have introduced language courses in Hong Kong because we recognize that was something in terms of a Cantonese learning provider that market particularly wanted to see. Similarly, we know that riders in the Middle East are more focused perhaps on supporting their families whilst riding. So we've been able to start to structure the courses more around for that purpose. But really, I think in terms of the diversity of the fleet and needs, it's an ever-growing process. So being able to see how the fleet's responding to what we're kind of being able to offer, both in terms of the engagement with the courses, but also what they go on to achieve, because those are two kind of different success measures. And so being able to kind of know, okay, well, this helps riders be able to understand more about this, and riders seem to be, absolutely loving language courses, for example. But what we see in terms of people going into a specific kind of new role at other companies, that's great because we can also start to think, okay, well, that's been super successful, and how do we kind of tailor more? So I think it's a learning process as well. And that's where being able to kind of see data and understand that in a lot more detail is really important.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that we've really enjoyed from Lynx, like working with your different teams and just seeing, like culturally, like how each market is different. What are the different kind of learning needs? Who are the riders who, reach out for a coach more? What kind of courses are they taking? And, how are we able, to support them? And then, again, we've learned with you to see like, where should we offer more of this, and how can we get, what's getting the most engagement by market? And globally, like why I love Education Benefits, why I launched this company, is the fact that a company has the opportunity to invest in workers' personal aspirations and get them to explore new opportunities. And one thing I hear a lot that actually drives me somewhat bonkers, if I can be honest, is that, the people can be in disbelief that a company would want to invest in something that could eventually pull workers away from what they're currently doing, which, of course, the Deliveroo model, it's a, gig economy model. But even in general, how do you think about that in the context of Deliveroo, of like investing in something that, by definition, if they're successful in what we're doing, means that, one day they'll probably be doing something else?
I mean, our business model is flexible, so riders can pursue opportunities alongside riding, and that means that they can ride when and how they want, and being able to support riders to study alongside riding is ultimately an experience enhancer for them. And yes, we may see some riders who kind of go in to pursue opportunities, and that's brilliant. But we often also see many riders who continue to work with us because it's so flexible. You can kind of pick up the app and work when and where you desire. And therefore, it is a great way to be able to pursue something and continue to do that. So often we do see people kind of keep coming back and working with the platform, which is amazing to see too. So I think ultimately the way we think about it is an enhancer of our values, which is flexibility, and what we know riders love too.
So what have been the success factors, over the years? What are the big lessons learned? And what is your measure of success, like for the success of this academy overall?
Yeah. We measure success through rider engagement with the courses, but also we look at the impact on rider experience, and an understanding to see the meaningful impact it's been able to have on individuals. So we kind of mix a combination of data of kind of levels of engagement, as we've kind of spoken about a little bit in this podcast, and then also the kind of real life tangible kind of opportunities that someone's got into and the impact it's made on their life as well. But this year we've seen over 8,000 riders sign up to study, probably more by the time that we're recording this. So that's a huge increase year on year. That's over 50% compared to this time last year. And I think for me, one of the things that I have learned from this, and the advice I would give about someone, if someone was thinking about doing this themselves, is start small and scale. So ultimately, you really want to understand what your audience or learners really want to see in regards to learning and development. And I don't think truly you're going to know that until you start. You might have some insights that are good indications, but the data will lead you in terms of that. So being able to be agile is absolutely key to respond to how your learners are kind of engaging. And then the other element I'd say is to not really be afraid to be creative in terms of courses. Ultimately, learning is a personal journey, and your kind of portfolio of courses should reflect that and give that kind of ability for people to kind of choose to dip in and out of those courses and what interests them. And ultimately, that, as we mentioned, the data will steer you. And so if you see learners are clearly leaning into a certain course, go with that. Think about how you can double down on that, promote it heavily, and showcase great case studies of learners off the back of the impact that it's had. I think that's one of my key takeaways, which is don't underestimate how much you need to kind of shout about this. Like those learning and development courses and kind of proposition offering is so meaningful, but often we do need to be reminded of those things. So being able to be creative with the communications around that really gives strong opportunities to kind of continue to see engagement rise.
Yeah, and that's been one of the really fun things working with Deliveroo. Yeah, is like digging into the data, adapting what we give, hearing the learner stories, and being able to offer more of what's working, and also questioning our assumptions, right? Like at the beginning of this, we had some ideas of certain courses that would be really popular, and then those haven't, and then out of left field, something really worked, and it's been fun to be able to offer more of that. So as we come to a close, like what are you and the local teams most proud of when you think about your investment in riders' futures? And maybe, you offer the Rider Academy, but you also do lots of other things at Deliveroo to support your whole fleet. How do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to offer these learning and skills opportunities to thousands of riders now. And, that's all over the world, which has been absolutely incredible. And for sure, for me, it's the individual stories that we know of where people have kind of gone into new opportunities and new kind of job opportunities, which are just really inspiring. So we've seen a rider from Dublin, for example, who went into a web developer role, or we've seen kind of the riders from the Big Pitch that I mentioned go on to create their vegan chocolate factory. And I remember also an individual rider in Edinburgh who was a refugee who was able to upskill and support his family as a result of a web developer course that we offered. So that's, for me, something to be incredibly proud of, but also that those riders should be incredibly proud of, taking those opportunities and kind of running with them too. But, outside of learning and development only, you mentioned, we have a wider proposition offering and that kind of complements this. We invest in riders' futures by offering things like free childcare in the UK through childcare provider app Bubble, and also things like free safety apps for when riders are kind of out on the road. But, we have hundreds of these proposition offerings for riders in place. So we kind of think about this as a real holistic approach, that we have our learning and development opportunities, our various kind of proposition campaigns. And for us, we are really proud of it, but we're also kind of always looking to the future to see what else we can offer and how else we can kind of enhance that experience. But actually, Sylvie, I would be really interested to also know your reflections in terms of working with Deliveroo. Obviously, this is a new company for Lynx to work with. And did you have any kind of reflections on, the experience with the riders so far?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my first, overall experience has been just how committed you and your team is to rider experience, and how engaged and, the riders having, a good experience on the platform, and your commitment to investing in them as people. So that's been super inspiring. And then on the learning side, it's just a joy. We get lots of messages from them. We offer coaching and support. And so when we're helping them figure out what course to take, and then we're able to send them an email to say, okay, you've gotten a spot, you were chosen, and then they're really proud. And then sometimes, they need some additional guidance, what's my next step? Should I, I'm supposed to have this meeting, or I'm supposed to do this, assignment, and they reach out and it's yes, go sign up. You can do it. Do you need help? Reach out. And so it's just been really, gratifying to, it's nice to look at the big numbers, 100,000 riders and 8,000 signups and all this. But, the one-on-one when, we can talk to the one person who's doing the web developer certificate, finished it and said, wow, this is the website that I was able to develop, or, start to learn this language, that I think has been definitely, the most gratifying part.
Yeah, it's those individual stories, which is so inspiring.
Yeah. And it's just, such an honor to be able to, contribute and realize we can make, people's lives better in this one way. And, what a pleasure to be able to be part of that. So thanks so much for this conversation. And looking forward to seeing what we can continue to build in the future.
Likewise. And thank you, Sylvie, and the team.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Talent is Everywhere. Make sure to subscribe if you like what you heard, and give us a follow on LinkedIn to continue the conversation on all things career mobility and talent development. Is there a topic you'd love for us to cover in a future episode, or a guest you'd recommend? Drop us an email at hello@lynxeducate.com. And if you're looking for support on your talent development strategy, head over to lynxeducate.com to learn more about our career mobility solution. That's lynxeducate.com.